Preface and Chapter 1 of Old Wells Dug Out. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. A recording by Marianne Spiegel. Old Wells Dug Out by Witt Talmage. Preface. This book takes its title not more from the first sermon than from the fact that it is an attempt to reopen the old fountains of the Gospel, which have of late years been partially filled up. For that reason we call the book Old Wells Dug Out. Some of these discourses were preached in the Brooklyn Tabernacle, and others in the Academy of Music, while our new church was being built. As word comes to us from all directions that the previous volumes have been the means of comfort and salvation to very many on both sides of the Atlantic, we send this book out, hoping it may do a similar work. These sermons, like their predecessors, were taken down by phonographers, and are left as they were uttered in extemporaneous delivery, without any material changes, because I have not had time to reconstruct them. They are part of my life. With me the lecturing platform and the literary column are episodes, but the preaching of the gospel of the Son of God is my chief employment and my indescribable delight. The Christian printing press is only the pulpit on cylinders. May this attempt to preach through the printed page harvest many sheaves for the Lord's garner. T. DeWitt Talmage. Chapter 1. Old Wells Dug Out. And Isaac digged again the wells of water, which they had digged in the days of Abraham his father. For the Philistines had stopped them after the death of Abraham. And he called their names after the names by which his father had called them. Genesis chapter 26, verse 18. In Oriental lands a well of water is a fortune. If a king dug one, he became as famous as though he had built a pyramid or conquered a province. Great battles were fought for the conquest or defense of wells of water. Castles and towers were erected to secure permanent possession of them. The traveler today finds the well of Jacob dug 100 feet through a solid rock of limestone. These ancient wells of water were surrounded by walls of rock. This wall of rock was covered up with a great slab. In the center of the slab there was a hole through which the leathern bottle or earthen jar was let down. This opening was covered by a stone. When Jacob, a young man of 70 years, was courting Rachel, he won her favor, the Bible says, by removing the stone from the opening of the well. He liked her because she was industrious enough to come down and water the camels. She liked him because he was clever enough to lay hold and give a lift to one who needed it. It was considered one of the greatest calamities that could happen a nation when these wells of water were stopped. Isaac, you see in the text, found out that the wells of water that had been dug out by his father Abraham at great expense and care had been filled up by the spiteful Philistines. Immediately Isaac orders them all opened again. I see spades plunging, and the earth tossing, and the water starting, until the old wells are entirely restored, and the cattle come down to the trough and thrust their nostrils in the water, their bodies quaking at every swallow, until they lift up their heads and look around and take a long breath, the water from the sides of their mouth dripping in sparkles down into the trough. I never tasted such water in my life as in my boyhood I drank out of the moss-covered bucket that swung up on the chains of the old well-sweep. And I think when Isaac leaned over the curb of these restored wells, he felt within himself that it was a beverage worthy of God's brewing. He was very careful to call all the wells by the same names which his father had called them by. And if this well was called the Well in the Valleys, or the Well by the Rock, or the Well of Bubbles, Isaac baptized it with the same nomenclature. You have noticed, my Christian friends, that many of the old gospel wells that our fathers dug have been filled up by the modern Philistines. They have thrown in their skepticism
Sample complete. Ready to continue?